Thanks for tuning in. I spoke with Kasey Wong today. It was such a good conversation about multi-units. I'm finding that a lot of the listeners of the Well Off podcast seem to like the more sophisticated stuff. I think there's enough information in here for all sorts of people that are, if you're starting out, he talked about some of the mistakes he made. One of them actually was a $400,000 mistake when he bought a couple buildings in Hamilton, and we discussed like some of the things he would have done differently if he can go back in time and redo that pool project. We talked about how to make your all-inclusive rents more efficient. Let's say you're buying a building and there's 10 units in there and they're all-inclusive rents. What can you do right off the bat to reduce your expenses? So some tips and tricks there. And we also talked about how to self-manage, so not hire property management, and how to be able to scale up to 400 or 500 doors just doing it yourself by basically delegating certain tasks, which would save quite a bit of money. So I hope you'll enjoy the episode. As you guys may have heard on the last episode, I'm looking into some multi-units in Welland, St. Catharines, that sort of area, and in Hamilton as well, 4 to 6 doors. If you guys are interested in finding out some more information, I'd be more than happy to discuss with you. You can reach out to me at george@welloff.ca. So enjoy the episode. Here we go. Welcome to the Well Off podcast, where the goal is to motivate, inspire, and share success principles. I'm here with Kasey Wong, the CEO of Cacoeli Asset Management. Kasey's really well known for being a multi-unit investor, works with a lot of, or owns a lot of apartment buildings and does tons of turnover there and the whole refinancing strategy and whatnot. So we're going to get into larger commercial apartment buildings and strategies around that. So Kasey, thank you for making the trip today.
Thank you. Well, I just want to correct you here, George. It's actually not CEO. It's actually my title is drive around, drink coffee all day.
I was going to say, I just checked your LinkedIn. That's what it said there.
Oh, did it? Oh,
yeah.
No. I got to change it.
You got to change it. All right, cool. So the way I like to start off here, Kasey, is by asking you about your childhood. So if you have certain memories and certain things that you want to share about where you grew up and whatnot.
Okay. I grew up actually in Malvern. Malvern's in Scarborough, near Shepherd and Nielsen. So we grew up in that neighborhood. I'll go a little bit farther back and dig a little bit further in this, is that my parents, they actually won that house. It was a lottery from the government. They wanted to move people into Scarborough because nobody was there. And when they bought, it was a 35-year, no payments or something like that.
Wow.
And it was no payments up to 35 years. Or if you sell, you would have to pay back $17,000 or something like that.
Wow.
Okay, and then that's how we got into the Scarborough, Shepherd Nielsen area. Grew up in that area where it was very ethnic. So a lot of my friends were from India. They're Muslim. I'd eat at their house, have the good curry and all, and then at that time it wasn't that bad. So Malvern sort of has a bad rap now. So grew up there, went to the Grey Owl, went to Hilliard. Some people may know. Grade 7, and then I moved out into the poshy area in Scarborough, which is Kennedy and Huntingwood. So Kennedy and Huntingwood, these houses actually had garages, right? And like one of my friends was like, "Whoa, my goodness, you're rich." So they had a garage.
Yeah.
So I moved over to Huntingwood and Kennedy, grade 7 to essentially like high school, university, and then I went to Sir John and Macdonald. Very, very blue collar family. My dad was an engineer, but he was a draftsman here. So he studied engineering in China, in Hong Kong. My mom, wasn't educated at all. So she was like a technologist. So she would actually troubleshoot motherboards for Leach Technologies that supplied the CTV, CFTO, those broadcast stations. So she would actually just do, sort of fixing, have that little solder thing and fixing motherboards. So very, very blue collar. But they actually, so the background to this is that they bought that little house, sold it.
You mean they got it? They received.
Oh, sorry,
they won
yeah,
the house.
yeah, they won the house. Excuse me. They won that house.
Yeah.
Then they moved over to the Huntingwood and Kennedy, and then right about the same time, when they, I think, sold. I think I remember in grade, I think it was a grade 7 or 8, or was it grade 6 or somewhere around there, like junior grades. They bought a triplex. They bought a triplex. So that's, I'm kind of date myself here. So they bought it in 1988.
Okay.
Right before the the sort of the crash. So 88, 89 is when they bought and sold. So they actually bought at 169,000 for a triplex in Greektown.
Wow.
Okay. So they bought 1 year after, it went up to 90,000. So 90 G's in a year.
Okay.
It was crazy, right? 169, 90,000, and they looked at it and it was like, whoa, that's a good return. And they sold it. So 90,000, and at that time they're smiling,
Yeah.
right? And I said this to I'm not sure if I said in that YouTube, like we mentioned about
Yeah.
that YouTube thing, and I was saying that to my mom this recently, as recent as like 3, 4, 5 years ago. I go, hey, if you kept that, what would it be worth now, right? So in hindsight, yeah, like that time it looked good, right? Earn 90,000 1 year, that was a lot of money. But if they had held it to now, it's minimum, it's $1 million. Okay, probably cash flowing about $2,000 to $3,000 each and every month. My parents are retired. I give them income, so they essentially park the money with me, and I just give them the 8 to 10%. They just need that money, right? They don't really need the 300,000-400,000. They just need that income, right? So they're invested with me, and I guarantee that money. But just imagine anybody, because one person, or in the comments, some people said that I've never lived through a downturn. In a way, I have, because I've seen what my parents what they have done, and they sold. I like to say they sold too early, right? Even if they got that 90, let's say it went flat and went back down to 169, and rode flat for the 10 years, which it did, and now it would have paid off, right? The 169,000, whatever, they put 25% down, so on and so forth. 25 years, it's paid off. They have $2,000 to $3,000 of positive cash flow each and every month just by that one property, right? So some people may say I have never lived through a downturn. I started in 2003, all right? So take just that little tidbit away. If you're in this game, be in this game for the long term, right? So then I sort of digressed there, but after that I went to high school, university. University, I went to U of T, Scarborough campus, studied finance and investments. Did 5 years of that. Actually, my first year was science. So science was funny because I thought I was going to be a doctor, and thank goodness for this, like for the world, that I'm not a doctor. Imagine if I was a doctor. But went into like literally failed all my courses or scraped by, and then I said, okay, you know what? I got to think of something. Let's try business. So got into the BCom program. Honestly, I don't think that the science compared to the business, science was hard. Business was a little bit like, it was easier. So went into business, got my first job at TD Asset Management. At that time it's called TD. I don't know what it's called now, but yeah, TD Bank, TD Asset Management. It was called investment specialist, and then I became doing training, so training other investment specialists, whatever that was, right? And then moved over to another company called Towers Parent, it's almost like a Mercer or Watson White. I'm not too familiar with this financial. These are more pension consulting companies, so I moved off from there into another like CIBC Asset Management, doing essentially the same thing, and then moved over to. That's when we started buying property. So 1999 is when I graduated. So 2003 is when I bought my first property. Okay, so. When 1999, graduated. 2003 is when I bought my first property. 2002 is when we started analyzing properties, my wife and I. My wife, she's a CA, so she likes to look at numbers, likes to look at the deals. She's more strategic in what we do. She takes a look at where the company's going to be heading, things like that. I'm very operational. I'll look at the properties. I'll look at details on a daily basis, contractors, staffing, tenant selection, things like that. She's very technical with the accounting, the legal, corresponding with agents. So yeah, our roles are very defined. Then yeah, exactly. So 2003, bought our first triplex downtown Toronto, and then it sort of ballooned from there. Hit Barrie, London, Kitchener as well. So Barrie, 4 properties, 2 in London, a 10-plex in Kitchener. and then I hit Hamilton, and then George is smiling because I'm the only guy that lost money in Hamilton. We were just talking to. I'm pretty like free flowing here.
Yeah.
We were just talking to Mark Loeffler.
Yeah.
Just before this, and then he's a big player in Hamilton. So Mark was. Mark's a big player, and I'm the only guy that lost money in Hamilton. I bought in a rough neighborhood. It was an 8-plex, a 12, and an 8. So this is 821, 827, and 959 Main Street. Probably not the best time to buy because I bought in 2005 to 2007. So I lost. It was just the tenant selection, the tenants that were there, not knowing the area. So I guess for your listeners, there's a lot more than just numbers. Like a lot of people look at numbers and think about, well, hey, it looks good, right? Like George, like you probably look at the deal and say, oh, this looks great.
Yeah.
But there's a lot more into it. There's why is it so cheap? What's the building? Is there a lot of deferred maintenance? How's the tenants like? The current tenants, the prospective tenants. You're profiling that area. Are you doing your soft analysis, like sitting there on a Friday and Saturday? I've said this before. Sit there on a Friday and Saturday night. See how it. See the activity.
Yeah.
Right. There's going to be deals going down. Right. There's going to be. So what I mean by deals is like drug deals, prostitution, young kids there that's actually on the lease, and you have loud parties. So on the Friday and Saturday nights, you have this big house party, and everybody's angry, and on the good tenants are moving out, and you have this terrible tenant that's causing problems and chaos, and maybe they're smashing up the place, and you can't do anything.
Right.
So those are the softer analysis that, as an investor, you have to do, right? So just because it looks good on paper doesn't mean anything. So no, you have to when you analyze, it's everything. The macro picture, right down to the micro, right down to the sniff test, right? You're going there and say, oh my goodness, I smell a lot of weed, or you see a lot of crack. Homeless people in the hallways every day, every night, nothing's locked. People are breaking in. So these are the things that you have to be aware of, right? As an investor, as now a business owner. But yeah, there's Hamilton. There's my story. There's more to it. Like if you want, I can dig deep into problems that I have done. Like I've had issues where it was almost a grow up. People drug deals to boiler breaking down, 2 boilers breaking down, to roof caving in, tenants not paying. What else? I have stories. So Hamilton hit Hamilton, and then in 2005 to 2007, we sold, got out of Hamilton. We weathered that storm, paid back my investors. From that 2007 to 2013, I sort of laid low, kept my properties, got into property management. So I started working. I actually like property management. It's weird. Actually, I was going to be a cop one time too. So I have a lot of stories, but I was going to be a cop one time. This is way back when I left the financial institution. And what else? Got into property management, worked for Brookfield, 2 or 3 smaller boutique property management companies, and then Cap REIT. And then I managed about 3,000 units in that lifespan, my career span. And then pretty much now we're about 240, 250 units. But you learn a lot. You learn a lot from the big boys and see how they do it and how they structure, not the deals, like my wife does that part, but how you run the business, right? I like that. Like I like running the business. I like seeing the properties. It's weird. I just like going there, collecting the change. It's something. It's satisfying for me, right? So whatever you do, you find satisfaction in what you do, right? If you don't like it, outsource it, right? If you don't like something, if I don't like the account, I don't like the administration part. I'm terrible at it. So I have an administrator, right? I have a property administrator, and she's / property manager. She just we just hired her. So about 3 months in, 4 months in. But yeah, if you're not good at something, this is the best part. I tell my kids this, is that in school you got to do everything. All right, you're a generalist. You do everything: math, science, English, French, social science, whatever. All right, you're doing everything. You have to learn everything. Yeah. Then when you're here, right, George, you're sitting here. If you're good at sales, if you're good at working with people, you do that. If you're not good at something, I'm not good at changing the toilet, right? Let's say I am, but let's say I'm not good at it. I'm going to outsource that.
Yeah.
If I don't want to snake out a sewer line, I'll outsource that, right? I don't even have to be there. I can be across the street, right? I can get my contractors and my plumbers to do it for me, right? But the best part of working is that know what you're good at. If I'm good at driving around drinking coffee all day and just looking at the properties and overseeing things, and I'm good at that, I'll do it, right? If I'm not good at something like marketing, I'll get somebody else to do it. If I'm not good at snake out the sewer lines, I'll get somebody else to do it. So work to what you're good at and outsource the bad stuff. The stuff that you're not good at, get rid of it because you're never gonna do it, right? You're not gonna like it, number one, and you're not gonna do a good job at it, right? So if you can, it's just always the cost factor, right?
Yeah.
Of can I afford it, right? If I have to paint, I have to paint.
Yeah.
Right. So that's my sort of getting into. Where did we stop off at? So, hit Hamilton. And then weathered that storm, and then 2013ish is when I wanted to, number one, buy a McDonald's franchise.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if people know about that. I was like, I had this money. I sold my triplex, my downtown Toronto property, which I bought it for $197,500.
Wow.
And sold it. Had a little bit of money. Sold it for, it wasn't that much. It's like $450 or $480 or something. And then had a little bit of money, and then nobody wanted to partner with me. Like nobody. I asked my friend, and my friend goes, I don't have any money. Oh, don't worry, I have the money.
Yeah.
Okay, I just need you to flip the burgers with me. I'll help flip. Like during the day, because I had 2 kids, or I think I had 2 kids at that time. We have 4 right now. It's like, would you want to flip burgers with me? This is a franchise, dude. It's great. And he didn't want to do it.
Yeah.
He's my good friend. Albert is his name. So he didn't want to flip burgers with me, and I heard that now it's $800,000 unencumbered money that you have to sit on to get a franchise, and I'm not sure what it makes. At that time, it was making $175,000 net per partner. But that's sort of my journey, and then bang, it's hit the multifamily.
Yeah.
Then I hit my my 18 unit, and it's a 51 bed in Waterloo, right across from Laurier. Is it 51 or 52? I remember now. But it's 18 units basically. It's 16 threes, 1 2, and 1 bachelor.
Wow.
So it's easy. You know what? When you get into the bigger stuff, because the cash flow is a little bit better, you can afford to pay your supers, your landscapers, things like that, and it just makes, because once you're earning a little bit more money, it does, like the building itself, right? You don't have to pull the money out, but once you start earning, once the cash flow is a little bit better, it makes life a little bit easier.
Yeah.
When we bought that triplex, I was doing that sewer line, right? But I got my contractor to rent an auger, and he was doing it and I was doing it, right? You just close your mouth, right? If it splashes up on you, right? So it's not hard, right? But the smaller buildings, the smaller houses are harder to cash flow. Then when I hit the Waterloo, then I hit Kitchener, and then started building from there. It just made sense because I knew how to scale it. The property was generating better income, and it just made so much more sense.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. You obviously you've been through a lot, and the Hamilton thing was a huge loss for you. You lost a big chunk of money during that, and we were chatting before we got on the podcast that basically the tenants were on like disability and whatnot, and they would pay for the first 2 months and then just cancel their payments after that. So you were stuck with tenants that you couldn't kick out for a few months.
That's right.
And you were taking out money from your personal RSP and whatnot to cover the payments.
That's right.
And that was 3 buildings that you owned. You said 28 units, right?
Yeah, it was 28 units. It was an 8. Yeah. It was an 2 8-plexes and a 12-plex.
Yeah.
And it was, because I was telling George before this, when I hit Hamilton, I go, hey, people on assistance, there's nothing wrong with them, right? There really isn't. You can't discriminate, but I don't discriminate. I do allow them. The only thing is that I just need a co-signer from them. It's just because of the history that I had.
Yeah.
And when they get a co-signer, you know what? Usually everything is good, right? But right when they get on it, when I let them in, sign the lease, and these people didn't have co-signers. This isn't Hamilton. They were direct pay at the beginning, and bang, 2 months off, like 2 months in, nothing. They're off because they have the right to do that. So I'm out. Their rent is even at that time, let's say $600 to $800.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
if I can remember. So their welfare payments for somebody on OW, we call it Ontario Works, was $535. I'm not sure how much it is now, but $535. If they're getting paid $535 and my rent is already $600, right? I was like, it didn't make sense, right?
Yeah.
Like at that time, I wasn't aware, but some of these people said that they were working, they could afford it, and that's something that you have, just do your proper procedures, right?
So what would you do differently then? Because at the time, obviously, it was a different time and different place.
Yeah.
You didn't get the same kind of tenants that you're getting now in Hamilton. So would you have just avoided that whole project, or would you still have purchased those buildings and done it differently?
I would have done it differently.
Yeah.
What I would have done is that I would have taken a look at who's the bad apples there, get them out, because there were actually one or two people that constantly had parties. And honestly, I would like to meet all the tenants, because when people say that they have kids, some kids are pretty bad.
Yeah.
Some of these teenagers, they go, oh, we have a young 13-year-old. No, it wasn't 13. He was like 16. And 16, he was at home. He got kicked out of school, right? And he was like, his rap music was, you can hear it across the street. That's how bad it was.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong. I listen to rap too, right?
Yeah.
So, but it was blasting. Like,
Yeah.
And then your question was, what would I do differently? I would select them differently in a way that I would get co-signers. I would get all their information, talk to their tenants. So number one is 2 co-signers that working, right? At least 5 years. So the co-signers is working for at least 5 years, have about $45 to maybe $50,000 of income per year, right? And what else? Do a credit check on them. Credit check is the history, but what I want to do is that I want to be able to go after them, right? If they're about 64 and they're about to retire, that's not really the co-signer material, right? So just make sure that person, they're on welfare, but hey, do you have a co-signer? Maybe their worker, right? Usually the worker doesn't sign, but let's say they're the friends, so they're workers, so they're social worker, whatever. Teachers or their doctor can co-sign for them, right? I always ask, like, hey, can somebody co-sign for you? So that's number one. Make sure that you do your screening down to a pad, like what you're getting into, right? Go to their unit, the current unit. Say, hey, okay, well, you've seen this unit. Do you mind if I just drop by at your unit now? Okay, I would like to sign the papers, and be upfront with them, because I just tell them, do you mind? Because I want to know how you live, right? And some of them are very honest and they're open. They go, okay, yeah, come on over, right? I've seen some really nice ones. It's one of them I seen, like, it was terrible, George. It was crazy. I walked in and there's dog shit everywhere. I looked at the pit bull. I'm like, oh my goodness, friendly pit bull.
You just take the paperwork and walk out?
I was like, I looked at it, I walked around. I go, you know what? This is, I'm not going to proceed with this, right? And I don't give a reason, right? I don't have to, right? I think they can smell the reason, right? That was bad.
Yeah.
But the screening process is crucial. So that's what I would do. That's something different that I would do now. Okay, the deal seems to be good. The property in itself is fine.
You think you can make it work if you can go back in time and know what you know now? You could have made it work.
Yeah. Because the variables is this: the building itself is just a building, right? All of the other stuff is it changes. Like the human factor of real estate is what you have to be careful of.
That's the thing that brings the most risk into your investment.
Yeah.
Aside from like having a major problem with the building, like a foundation problem or something major.
Right.
Yeah. It's really the tenants that you have.
Exactly. So that's a main the risk factor, the liability is that human aspect of it. If you can control that, then everything else is fine. Like there's a flood problem, you can always fix it. It just costs money.
Yeah.
Like, there's a hole in your wall, you can fix it. It's not a problem, right? Re-drywall it. But when you have that human aspect, you have to control that. You have to know what to do for that part of the business.
And especially in Ontario, where the rules are so in favor of tenants.
Yeah.
And that's the reason why there's so much risk associated with tenant selection.
Yeah,
exactly. If the policies were different,
Yeah.
have you ever looked into looking into helping us make some changes towards the tenant policies, or you don't really care too much?
Well, I have no power, okay?
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
all of us individually, like we probably don't have if we collectively do something, yeah, we probably could. But we're just talking even before this podcast
Yeah.
with Mark. Listen, the government is actually creating a price ceiling.
Yeah.
Okay, we're not at like if anybody has taken economics 101, right? They know. Have you taken business courses or?
I did a major in economics. So,
Excellent. See,
yeah.
so you know what I'm talking
But I
about.
don't remember very much.
You don't remember? It's just it's so simple, people. Price and quantity, or price and the output of that underlying product or service. You have your supply and demand curve. Once it hits a supply and demand curve, you have that equilibrium. Okay, and that's the best way for the capital market to work, because now your price is not too high or too low, artificially low. So once you have a price ceiling, it creates an artificial cap on that price, which essentially creates a supply shortage and a high demand, right? So we're in the situation where you have a price ceiling. Government doesn't do anything. Government should be letting the markets laissez-faire. Let the market deal with it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
The market is the best way to get to that equilibrium. But now we have a price ceiling, and now we don't have getting to.
We're talking about rent control.
Exactly. Sorry,
Yeah.
rent control.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Sorry, I'm an idiot. So rent control. That's what I'm
Yeah.
talking about. Rent control, price ceiling, is price. So there's always that ceiling that hits the supply and hits that demand curve. You bring it down to the quantity output, you can have that shortfall. Okay, I'm not sure if you remember your economics, but that's going to be that shortfall. So artificially, the government is actually creating a lineup, right? Which is, hey, dude, this is good for us.
Yeah, a lineup of tenants.
Exactly,
Yeah.
a lineup of tenants. They're creating that for you. So they're creating a high demand, right? I'm like, okay, well, the only bad part is that now only on the turnover that you can command market rent.
Except if it's a newer building.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I think it's the last, whatever, I don't know,
2 years,
2 years
or something like that. Yeah, something like that.
Then you can, every year you can increase it to the market rent.
Yeah.
Then you may have higher turnover. But when it comes down to it, they're creating that shortfall for you. Okay. Take advantage of that. They're never going to be, the supply will never hit equilibrium if government is involved. Okay. So we're in a business environment that you can reap the advantage of that, because the government, honestly, quote unquote, they're stupid. Okay. They are. In a way, good that they're basically current tenants have that rent control, right? But then when you squeeze the landlords dry, they can't do any repairs and maintenance.
Yeah.
Now, if you have, let's on the flip side. Now, if you basically continue to have a higher supply, okay, of housing, your prices actually drop. Make sense? Let's say you only have a thousand. Let's say you have 1,000 units, and you only have 500 tenants.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Automatically, prices start to drop.
Yeah, they have more to choose from.
More to choose from,
exactly.
right?
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I think we should spell it out for people, because people don't understand. Like people that vote, they don't understand that. So once you create a higher supply, your prices will drop. But right now we're in low supply, high demand. So prices will inevitably just go up because of the high demand, right? So again, the government is trying to take care of the current situation, but in the future they're not taking care of that of the future tenants, because a lot of people is moving in. So
well, that's what Mark was saying before we got on. He was saying that the stats show that Hamilton needs 1,200 units per year to keep up with demand, and they're only building about 400 units per year. So there's a huge shortfall right there.
Right. That's right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So so obviously that's an important factor. The thing is, I don't know if you're aware, but I believe in Quebec they have rent control, but even with like if the tenants leave, the new tenants have the right to view the previous rent, and they have to stick with that.
Oh, really?
That's what I've heard. I'm not 100% sure on that, but that's a pretty crazy policy. And I think they were thinking about applying something similar here at one point.
See, it doesn't make sense. Like the government has to increase the supply. Once you increase the supply, that's the best way to do it.
Yeah.
Now, when you touch upon Quebec, I don't know if this is gonna, I've been talking to people where, sort of the bigger players, and they said, so I was talking to somebody in Cap REIT. He's actually the son of the founder. Okay, so Cap REIT's one of the biggest landlords in Canada. I think they have about 70,000 or 80,000 units. So when we touched upon Quebec, there are certain areas that we were talking about that he won't invest, right, as the fund or the REIT itself. I don't know if that will touch people the wrong way. I don't if you want.
I don't know. I don't know if there's a lot of people from Quebec listening here. So
Oh no, but
good.
other areas as well. So we were just talking about um, not where not to invest, or not that the REIT is actually not going in.
Yeah,
Do you
yeah.
wanna?
You can touch on it if
Yeah?
you want.
Okay.
Yeah,
So the REIT, like Cap REIT, and a lot of the big players, they're
Yeah.
not investing in, let's say, Alberta, Saskatchewan,
Mhm.
and Quebec. Okay, it's just the economic
yeah,
climate there,
Yeah.
right? The growth isn't there, so
Yeah.
they're staying away from it.
Mhm.
They divested most of those, so they're only concentrating on Ontario. But Ontario is very expensive now. So we're in Ontario. The market um, is very strong. Growth is here. Companies are moving in here,
Mhm.
so you have a lot of jobs, and you have that price salary increase.
yeah. And there's a variety of jobs
That's
too.
right.
Like if you look at Alberta or some of these other spots, it's kind of like just one type of
That's right.
employment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you see that downturn.
Although
right?
that might be insulting to some of the people.
Yeah,
Obviously, there's
there's
more,
more.
but there's one major market
That's right.
really, as
Yeah.
far as I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. So the oil patch, excuse me,
Yeah.
the oil patch employs a lot, and then you have the subsectors helping and sort of supporting it. But in that type of economy,
Mhm.
you may want to stay away from it. Like if you're living there, that's fine. If you're probably investing in a few of them and you bought it way back 5-10 years ago, that's
Mhm.
great,
Mhm.
right? But right now, are you going to be investing in Alberta? The oil is really low right now, and
Yeah.
they don't see an increase.
Mhm.
So it is tough to look at that and think about that as a viable investment option,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Saskatchewan as well, because they're tied into the resources as well. Quebec is again, this is his opinion as well. Like I do agree with it.
Mhm.
Quebec is their tenant profile. They actually tend to stay a lot longer, and actually their rental market is very very big. A lot of people actually rent; they don't like to buy,
Mhm.
right? But
Yeah.
the problem here for most landlords is that they stay a lot longer.
Yeah.
So that 5 or 10 years, what happens that when even if you buy, you're not able to pull that money out because now your NOI is really low for those 5 or 10 years,
Mhm.
right? You have this nice turnover in Ontario, and it creates a great investment opportunity for people in Ontario.
Mhm.
So, listen, I'm not telling you not to invest there, but I'm saying you have to be aware that those areas, if the big boys aren't investing there, why,
Mhm.
right? So look,
Yeah.
follow the elephant, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So
Exactly. Yeah, cool. I want to. Obviously, you have 250, around 250
Yeah.
units, so you know a lot about the what to do when you buy these buildings because you're often buying them. They're, I'm assuming, in rough shape or
Mhm.
they have bad tenants and whatnot. You got to turn them over.
Yeah.
What are some of the first things you do when you purchase property? For example, when I've spoken to people in the past, they would say like in a rough neighborhood, they might put these lights on the exterior just to illuminate the whole lot to make sure no drug deals are happening, that people can see what's going on. Do you have any tips on certain things that you do of that
Yeah.
sort?
Yeah, that's good. There's a few things that I normally do is that when I walk my building, when I'm doing the inspection with the engineer and usually with the engineer,
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking to people, and I need to know if I can get a super there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Somebody that can clean and be
One of the people that are currently living there.
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's my main goal
Mm-hmm.
is to find somebody there because they're my eyes and ears
Mm-hmm.
for problems, for tenant issues.
Yeah.
So once you have that, it makes your life a lot easier. Then exactly what you do. If I had the Hamilton building, same thing. You have to be able to secure the building, the front.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it has to be unsecured locks.
Yeah.
So whatever locks you have, there's a lot of these types of keys and these locks that you just can't duplicate the keys
Mm-hmm.
at your local hardware store, at your Canadian Tires or Home,
Right.
like Home Hardware,
Right.
whatever. So you get these high security locks,
Mm-hmm.
cameras throughout. Okay, so you put cameras, the entry points.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then lights, change the lights, make sure it's nice and bright.
Yeah.
Okay, that's crucial. And then make sure that you support your super. So if something goes wrong, they call you and you call the police,
Mm-hmm.
right? So there will be some bad apples there. In any building that you buy, there will be somebody that would. Everybody, there's a lot of people that hate me. Okay,
Yeah, of course.
Tenants hate me. Whatever. It's like I didn't do this for them. I'm doing that to them,
Mm-hmm.
and there's always gonna be somebody
You're always going to be the person that they're going to blame.
for sure.
Yeah, if they're not paying rent and you're evicting them, you're the problem.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
If they're not paying, I'm the problem.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Yeah.
So, but yeah, that's your get go.
Yeah.
Okay. Find a good person. Get your people in place. So you have your contractors and plumbers and electrician. Okay, have a good contractor. Okay, one or two is good. Your plumbers as well, and obviously your plumbers. You need somebody at night. Okay, because I think I told this before to other people is that your plumbers are the people that will be there when your tenants are home, because you don't have a plumbing problem during Monday to Fridays 9 to 5. When you're available to work, there's no problems because you're all at work. Right. So your plumbers have to be available at night. So weeknights and weekends. Okay, that's a crucial time because they're going to tell you when it's leaking, when it's clogged or anything like that. And then your electricians as well. So electricians is more during the day, but your plumbers are crucial. Okay, and just know where the shutoffs are. Right. So if there's any kind of floods or leaks or anything like that. But at the get-go, you have to find. So your question was that what do you do? That's what you have to do. All of that almost all at the same time.
Yeah, pretty much address the security issues to start for the most part.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
What about if you're acquiring a building that has all-inclusive rents? What kind of steps do you do? Like, are you going to try first to maybe make it more efficient, maybe change shower heads, faucets, things like that, and then try to put meters in and separate all the utilities and all that?
What I normally do for the water, yes, it's going to be shower heads, aerators for all the faucets.
So just an aerator, you won't change the faucet?
Not usually. When it comes due, when it's leaking or whatever, then I would change it to a single handle lever, and I'll put the better stuff in. I'll put the Moen, I'll put the American Standard, something good. Don't buy the cheap stuff. You're buying, what's this cheap stuff, like $30 or $40? Spend an extra $30. It's not that much. Okay, so buy for those things that is used on a regular basis. Okay, so sort of my take is that if I'm using it for like every day, put the money there, right? Like I'll put the money in, let's say my pair of boots. Right? It doesn't look good, but it's a pair of boots, right? It's $500 for a pair of boots. But I won't buy a nice suit because I don't wear it every day, right? I'll buy a nice, like it's decent, whatever decent at Moore's or whatever has, then I'll buy it, right? But things that I use, like I'm gonna use a dishwasher every day, I'm gonna buy a good dishwasher. That light stand in the office or that never gets turned on, I'm not gonna buy a designer light stand.
Right.
That's my take. Sorry, what? I'm digressing. What?
So faucets, shower heads.
Yes, and now like electrical stuff. The hydro, you want to be able to offload that to the tenants. In Ontario, usually there's 3 types of utilities. We call it hydroelectricity from the hydro dams. Then you have gas, and then you have water. So usually landlords, property managers would outsource or offload to the tenants hydro. So I use WISE, WYSC, I think, or ZE.
Okay.
WISE. Anyways, you can offload everything. You can actually even offload the water. They can put a meter there. But you have to.
That's expensive, right?
Yeah.
Because they got to open up and then.
No.
Okay. I remember someone looking into it. They said it was going to cost quite a bit to put separate meters in every unit for water.
Yeah, but then they actually charge the tenants back, right?
Yeah.
But then it makes it expensive for them. Now you have a min cost. I think it's $20 or $30 a month for. I didn't really look into it. I looked at the cost structure and it didn't seem feasible. Because if I'm charging it all back to the tenants and they see the total cost now, so they have to pay rent plus 3 utilities plus cell phone or whatever. It's 4 or 5 utilities, or that's expensive because parking and all. Now they're going to look at, okay, well, I'm paying $1,000 plus all these plus, and then I can rent all inclusive except for hydro, and I'm paying $1,250, right? They rather pay the $1,250, right?
Yeah.
Because if they pay separately, they're probably paying $1,300 or $1,400. So you know what? Compare apples with apples, and be at the same page as a competition. Okay. So I normally offload through Wise just the hydro.
So okay, can you just explain what Wise is and
what? So they would put a separate meter.
It's a company that comes in and does the work.
It does all the work. And then they have so let's say my 32 unit building was all included, and now they would separate it individually whenever there's a turnover. So whenever there's a turnover, they're changing it. You just can't change that lease. So I'm not forcing it upon the current tenants. You can't do that. Like play within the rules.
Right.
I play within the rules. The playground is this. The government tells you how to play, and you play that game. Right. It's as simple as that. I'm not changing anything. I'm not the bad landlord saying, you know what, I'm gonna take you to tribunal. No, I'm not doing that. Here it is. Here's what I can do. The new tenants are coming in. You know that it's rent plus hydro, right? Every water and heat, essentially gas is heat, is absorbed by the owner, right? So that's what I normally do.
All right. So just to recap, the first thing you'll do is try to make the all-inclusive rents more efficient for you. So that would mean changing faucets and shower heads and things like that. Is there anything else you would do in addition to that? Like I know some people put a brick in the toilet so that it uses less water.
Yeah. Yeah, I heard about a brick, maybe even a water bottle or something. Like you can definitely do something.
I'm not saying that you should do that, but are there any other tips that you would do to reduce the amount of utilities you're paying on the building without turning it over?
No, that's all that I do.
Okay, so you go in there, you definitely have someone go in, always change shower heads and faucets, or the aerator at least.
Yeah, we check that on a regular basis, and we check the toilets that run, because the flappers at the bottom will tend to sort of, they call it warping. So that little flapper at the bottom, it goes up, opens up the valve to flush the water from the tank to the bowl. So that warps, okay, and you'll hear the water run. So you go close to it, you say, and it goes, psh, and then and it's
always
stops.
running.
It's always running.
Yeah, some stuff like that.
Yeah, and then we take a look at your water bill. Okay, just take a look at that. If it spikes up, so if it has a variance of from 1 month to the next, let's say a 10 or maybe 20% increase, and you say, okay, well, flag that. We'll go take a look, right? And you're doing on a regular basis. You're doing the smoke alarms before and after winter. When you do that, you're checking for the water as well. So you go to the sink, you turn it on, make sure it doesn't leak. Your traps, your P traps, making sure that they're dry, and you flush your toilet. I go there, just flush your toilet and just wait for it. Right. Sometimes right after you flush, there's a catch. Right. Sometimes the chain catches the whatever. So you're listening for that. So that's just regular property management maintenance. Right.
And
so
you train your guys to go, or whoever you train them. This is what you look for. This is what I want you to do.
Yeah, that's right. So I'll train them, but I like to go and do it myself. I just want to see how people live. Sometimes you'll see, I don't know, a grow up, some mold issues. So that's when you're taking a look at your investment, right? Like I have investors, and they want to see that. They want to make sure that are you doing what you're supposed to be doing, right?
Yeah.
Because we have to answer to my investors, right? So I do work for people, and they put their money into this building, so I have to make sure that it's running properly.
Right.
Yeah. Just respect their investment.
Yeah, definitely. And then, as you were saying earlier, as the units turn over, you separate the hydrometers.
Yes.
And now you just add that to the rent. So you're typically doing rent plus hydro.
Yes.
Right. So you're not separating everything. You're just doing that.
That's right.
Yeah. So water, you're still typically paying out of your pocket. Yeah, so that works out. And then we're kind of talking about securing the building. And at that point, how long would it typically take you to turn a property over? Are you doing like cash for keys to speed that process up?
No.
Or it doesn't matter how long it takes?
Yeah, it doesn't. I don't really force people out.
Yeah.
People will just leave automatically. But I'm not here to kick them out of their house.
What if there's a troublesome, like that person that was playing music?
Yeah.
How would you approach that?
Yeah, so if it is troublesome, like I'm going to say, hey, I'm going to do an N5, and essentially that's a tribunal paper saying that you're disturbing people, or whatever you're doing. Do you want to leave? And I've done that once in the last. So I've done this since 2003. So 17 years I've done it once, and I gave 2 months rent back because they need first and last, right? It's like, you know what, this is not working out. I told her, it's either I take you to the tribunal, and then you don't get any money, I'm gonna kick you out for sure, or I can give you 2 months rent, leave now, right? So I've done that once. And she knew that. Like, she knew that she couldn't pay. We already had we're going to the tribunal. And I said, it's probably going to be, because I'll go to mediation and do all that. And I'm saying, I'll give you a break. I'll give you a chance. I'll give you like a couple days. But either you take it now, you take 2 months now, or we go to the tribunal. She nodded her head and goes, I'll take it now.
Right. Yeah, that's fair. And then she's out of there, and you don't have to deal with that problem anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you finding that it's getting challenging to find good apartment buildings?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Is it more challenging now than it was a few years ago?
I think it when we started doing these YouTube and these podcasts, I think it's sort of blown up. Like, when we're looking at deals now, it's hard.
Yeah.
I'm not sure are you looking for the multifamilies, the 30 to 50 unit buildings? My goodness, their prices are, when I looked at it, I'm like, oh my goodness, these people are crazy. They're buying it so high. Some of these prices have gone up to like I heard 150,000 per unit. In the Kitchener Waterloo Cambridge area.
Are there a lot of players in that price range? Like, I haven't really looked at anything that was 30 to 50 units. So
so your question was, there a lot of people?
A lot of players that are going after these types of buildings.
I think there are now.
Yeah.
I think there are, because I've seen it was a 20-unit building in Cambridge, and it sold for 150,000 per unit.
Mm-hmm.
And this is only about a year or 2 years ago. I was just shaking my head. I was like, this is crazy.
Yeah.
And then it was a Toronto person. Like, we looked it up. I think my agent looked it up. Goes, I think somebody from Toronto that bought it. People in Toronto are crazy. I'm from Toronto.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think it's more of a yield play. People want something. They know that it's going to go up. Cambridge, Kitchener-Waterloo, your Hamiltons, your St. Catharines, like it's a very, very stable market. And people are buying in future prices. I think you bought it about 2 years out, maybe 3 years out.
That was going to be one of my questions for you. Is that something you would consider doing at this point? So I know, like, with the prices being so high, and often these rents are low because they've been run by the same person for 30 years and they don't really care about jacking them up. Are you buying them and hoping that you'll be able to turn them over quickly so that you can make up for that lack of cash flow?
We are buying it, but not to those prices. Even my St. Catharines building, so we're buying it at 130,000 per unit at 5.3 mil for 40 unit. I think it was 130,000, but there's a back piece of land that I can build, so I can essentially cut that, so sell that piece of land from my rental LP to my development LP, and then my cost per unit drops from that 5.3. Let's say I sell it for about 500,000 or 800 or whatever, $1 million. It drops my 5.2 or 5.3 to 4.3, for example. Now it's at 4.3 million for 40 units. That back piece of land helped my development now, right? So, sorry, your question is that
are you willing to purchase a property?
That's right.
Even though it might be negative or really low on cash flow.
Yeah, we do that because it's a value add play. We know that at the very get go, the first couple years, it's going to be zero probably. It's going to be net zero. I'm not going to be making any money until there's a turnover. Okay. So imagine this. You're buying a business that doesn't make money for 2 years.
Yeah.
Right. People will just slap you, right? I'm going to buy McDonald's. I'm not going to make, I'm going to volunteer my time for 2 years. Right. But there is that portion of property management and so on, whatever. I have to eat.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I have to pay I do take, for a commercial, I take 3 to 5%. So I have to put bread on the table. I have to be able to put gas in my car, so on and so forth. I have to do that. But when it comes down to my investors, no, we're not making money for the first couple of years, right? And they know that.
What if it was negative? Would you still go into it?
That's tough. Yeah, it's tough because it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Right. I'm gonna have to feed this. Dude, I like investment properties. I like that, but now to go and get another investment property to support it, it doesn't make sense unless you have very deep pockets where you can put a huge down payment of 35, 40, or whatever percent down, because you're not gonna be able to get that funding from the bank. So I'm not gonna be able to go to the bank, your charter banks, or even the secondary lendings, and like a Timber Creek or whatever. They're not going to give you that money and say that whatever.
It's too risky.
It's too risky, right?
Yeah.
And it doesn't make sense for them. So when you're doing your financing, they'll tell you that you probably need 35 down, right, or 30 down, and then you have to be able to stabilize it. You have to get that turnover.
How much are you typically putting down now with the lenders that you're working with?
All of our previous deals were 25 down. Okay. Now I think in this St. Catherine, I think we put 30 down. I'm not sure. That's my wife. That's a question for my wife. I think it's 30%. Right. 20. It's not 35. I think it's 30 or 25.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, before we get into the next section, I had one more thing for you. You were talking with Mark about how you don't need to go with like external property management until you get to about 400 or 500 doors. Yeah. So can you expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I actually, Colton asked the same thing. Colton is in St. Catharines, right?
Okay.
And he was asking me, I love helping people. I just don't have the time to help everybody.
Yeah.
So this really helps, this podcast, YouTube and things like that. So you don't need an exterior property manager. This is how I break it down. So your property manager is not going to collect rent. They don't touch your top line, okay? Your tenants are going to be either paying a few ways. It's pre-authorized debit. You have to pay for that through the bank. So pre-authorized debit. You pull the rent directly from their account each and every month. It's just like your gym your gym memberships, right? They pull it. They go into your pocket, into your wallet, and they pull that $30. In this case, whatever, it's $1,000. They pull it out. They can stop it, or I can stop it anytime they wish. Okay, I can stop it when they move out. Okay, so that's obviously if you continue to take it out and they moved out, that's fraud, right? And you could be charged for that. It's criminal, right? So you're not going to be doing that. So that's one way of collecting. It could be e-transfer, but just try collecting 250 e-transfers and passwords and everything. That'll drive you crazy.
Right.
So e-transfers, usually I get them at the first and last, first and your first month's rent and your last month's rent, your and then after which you can either pay by PAD, pre-authorized debit, or checks. You can drop off a check. We usually have a drop off in all the buildings, so it's a management office. Just drop it off, and we'll go and collect it, or you can mail it to us, or it's posted checks, right? Those are for me, it's the most viable, easiest, simplest way for tenants to pay their rent.
You're right.
Okay, so that's a top line. Showings, I usually get the person to show. My superintendents, my cleaners, they can show. I paid them $10 for showing. They can group it together and have 5 showings. It's $50, right? Group it together, right? Any kind of maintenance issues, it just goes to that super. The super contacts me or my contractors. If I don't want to deal with it, I go to the contractors. Now it's so easy. You have a phone, right? Tenant, go take a picture of it. Go take a video of it. Send it to me directly. I say, okay, well, your toilet is running. Oh my goodness. There's a shower in your living room. Oh my goodness. Send a plumber.
So
right?
so you'll actually you'll have them text you or email you directly?
Exactly. Like I want it. For me, it doesn't happen often, right? But I want them to tell me that I have a flood, the roof has caved in. Why did it go to the property manager and then to me?
Yeah.
Why don't it just come directly to me? It goes from the super or that cleaner directly to me. Right?
Do you have an assistant or something that helps you?
Yeah, we have an assistant for my paperwork and all that because I'm terrible at paperwork.
Yeah. Okay.
But it still doesn't go to her. Like I still maybe I'm too hands-on. My wife says you have to be hands-off and something, but I don't mind doing that because I want to know what the heck is going on. Would you rather me invest with me and I don't know what the heck is going on? Like I'm investing in you, George, but George, how's it going? I don't know, right? And like what? You don't know how my investment is doing, right? Yeah. So that's I still like to I still want to go to me if it goes directly to whatever my contractors CC me on it, right? Hey, whatever CC, send it to me. I want to know what's going on, right? If it's a small matter like my kitchen knob fell off, okay, dude, like I don't need to know all that, right? Yeah. But when they're there, like the superintendent will get all the small items, and every week the contractor will just go and get it all done, right? So that's for maintenance and repairs. It goes to those certain people, okay? Collecting the rent, it goes to certain people. And now showings, it goes to certain people. Contractors, landscapers, and superintendents, we have cameras throughout, okay? So you put the cameras in, right? This offloads your property managers. They don't have to drive by. Why do you have to drive by? What, right? I'm driving by anyways because I still have to collect the rent, collect the coins, okay? And do all that. Again, what is my property manager doing, right? Renovations? Okay, well, contractor, go and take a look at it. What needs to be done? I always do the same thing. Yeah. I mean, do a full gut. It's just change the kitchens and the bathrooms, right? But it always gets new floors and it gets painted, right? Okay, so what's the duties of that property manager that I'm going to outsource that I cannot do for myself? Yeah. Right? So I've pretty much done everything. If my roof is leaking, I'm going to go up there and take a look at it, right? I'm going to say, okay, well, look, yeah, oh my goodness, it is leaking. Like I go into the top unit and say, wow, there is a waterfall, right? Somebody took a picture of it. Yeah, that's, that's water. How hard is that? Right? I am a property manager and I probably wouldn't even hire myself if I'm being an owner, right? Right. But the thing is that if you have all these people in place and you've done that at the beginning, that person is I hate to say it, that person is redundant right now until you hit that 400 or 500 units, until you're saying, you know what, I don't want to drive around to each and every building, right? But if you have 400 or 500 units, you're gonna scale up now. You're gonna buy the 100 units and 200 units and buy 4 buildings, right? Have somebody sit there in the office, right, and look pretty. Like I don't mind sitting in the office. That's what I used to do. Go to the office and look pretty, right? Yeah. But it comes to the point where if you're able to scale, if you have those single-family homes, duplex, and triplex, you're going to sell those at a certain time. You can't refinance everything. Some people say, I'm going to refinance and pull the money out. Yeah, you can refinance, but it comes to a point where you're not able to because your financing cost on a monthly basis is going to be, you're not going to be making anything, or you're going to refinance and not refinance enough, because I've done that, even for my 10-plex, right? So I sold my 10-plex to get my 65 unit. But mind you, what the question was, George asked, why do I need a property manager? Okay, if you can outsource all that, because I basically outsourced everything, right? I'm just overseeing it. I'm just a quarterback. I'm quarterbacking everything. So I'm doing all that on my cell phone or whatever, saying, yeah, there's a flood, send a plumber. Electrical is shot, send an electrician. Showings, here there's 5 showings, right? There's no use for that property manager yet. Right. Okay. Until you have that, I say 400, 500, even 700. I think I can do it up to about 700. I said 700. I just have my administrator. Sometimes I want the day off or whatever because maybe we're we're scaling, buying something.
Mm-hmm.
We're just doing different deals now that I do need somebody to help me out, just to definitely do the paperwork. And then she likes to be hands on as well. She wants to do the inspection.
Mm-hmm.
Says that, you know what, great, because I don't have to do the inspection, but if I have the time, I'll do it.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, just know what you're getting into, and see if you can outsource it to somebody who's a little bit more efficient.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Yeah, everybody's got different skills and whatnot. So your
Yeah.
skills work well for that type of thing.
Yeah.
And there might be some people out there that just don't want to deal with any of it and they just want to outsource it. So,
Yeah.
but it's interesting the way you do it and how you're able to take care of 250 doors just yourself by outsourcing it. It's impressive.
Yeah.
Great. Okay, let's jump into the final section, which is the random 5. So I'm going to ask you 5 random questions, as the title states, and you just answer the first thing that comes to mind, okay?
Sure.
So what food do you crave more than any other?
Variety. I'm not in for one specific food. Like, I eat everything. I eat from the Indian food, from your curry, like spicy curries, to your sushis, to your pasta, Chinese food. I eat everything.
Yeah.
You're Lebanese. I
Yeah.
want to eat Lebanese, like the kebabs. I think you probably have good kebabs or something, right? Like,
Right.
I'll eat everything, anything.
Mhm.
So,
So there's nothing in particular that you crave, more than... No? Okay.
no.
All right, fair enough. Have you ever had to scream help? And if so, why?
Scream help. Help. There's no more toilet paper. No.
Okay. All right, that's a good reason. All right, fair enough. What makes you lose track of time?
On the phone.
Yeah.
I think everybody is on social media now. Like, I should be posting. I should be, doing more social media and posting stuff. I think for everybody, it sucks your time out.
Yeah.
Right? Like, oh my goodness, I'm on the phone for half an hour. I should have been there already, right?
Yeah. You mean like on just scrolling through posts?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Through posts, I'm like, oh my goodness. Like, I like to, like, what is it? Not kind of snoop around and like just watching people. I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool, right? But then it's just a waste of time.
I know, you
time
just
wasting.
get absorbed in it. And
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
All right, cool. The next one is, if peanut butter wasn't called peanut butter, what would it be called?
Peanut butter was called peanut butter. We called. That's a different question. It was soy butter. I have no idea. Like, my kids have this on at their school, and it smells like peanut butter and all that. I'm like, well, this is amazing. And like,
Peanut-free peanut butter.
yeah, peanut-free peanut butter. It's soy.
Yeah.
I'm like,
There you go.
Soy based. I'm like, okay, well, if you like it, eat it.
Soy
Funny.
butter. I like that. Okay, and the last one is, what success principle do you live by?
Success principle. You got to do it. Like, you can't learn. I think I said this before. You can't learn a bike by reading books on it.
Right.
I'm gonna have a PhD on bike riding, but you've never touched a bike, right?
Yeah.
You can't learn steering, pedaling, gliding, balancing on with from books, right? So the success principle is that you actually have to do it.
Right.
Like, you have to get on the bike, and you may have to fall, right? You will fall, right? So get back on that bike and get on the bike first, and then try it.
Yeah, it's amazing that you lost $400,000 in Hamilton.
Yeah.
And you were able to recover from that, and that didn't scare you away.
Yeah.
And you and your wife were together, and you worked through that difficult time, and you were able to grow and get past it. So yeah, congratulations on that, and hopefully you'll continue to grow. And I appreciate you coming by and you sharing all that information with us.
Yeah, here's an analogy I was telling to one of my friends, is that, just imagine you lost $400,000-$500,000 for, like, either you learn that experience or you take out $400,000-$500,000, right, and put in a nice little pile and put a flame to it.
Yeah.
Okay. You'd rather learn it, right? Because the other way, there's no learning, right? You just burnt, like, let's say I bought 2 Ferraris and just like crashed it, right? You're not learning from that anything. But at least I learned something from Hamilton, right?
And you never made those mistakes again.
Yeah,
those same mistakes. Yeah.
Yeah. You never make those mistakes again. But you have to learn it, right? Just because you hear me talk and, oh, it's nice, but go and do it, right? Like, I want people to succeed. There's nothing in it for me, right? I just want you to succeed. How hard is that?
Yeah.
Right? Just go and grab it. There's opportunities everywhere.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you're sitting here, you're doing what you do, but the opportunities are there. You're doing what you're doing, right? Just imagine that. It's like, I did it. I tried it, right? I always tell people, just do it when they're young. Like, Do you mind me asking how, George?
29.
29. Dude,
Yeah.
you're so young.
Yeah.
I started when I was 28,
Mhm.
right? I'm 44 now. Just imagine when you're at 44, you're going to look back at this and say, you know what? I've done it. I have these properties, or I've learned some mistakes. I've lost a little bit of money. But your mistakes are actually your mistakes, right?
Yeah.
Your mistakes will not be my mistakes. You probably learn from my mistakes, but you hit different types of mistakes and you
Right.
learn from it,
Yeah.
right? So it's good. It's good to have that little bit of stress level.
Mhm.
Okay, it builds you,
Mhm.
right? I said this to Matt one time ago. We can't take anything with us, right? We get to when we die, we get to leave all this behind us,
Mhm.
right? There's not so why hold it on so dearly? Like, oh, it's $50,000 in my pocket. I'm gonna buy a car with it. I'm gonna spend it. Like, how am I gonna spend it? Invest it wisely. Okay, but you're gonna spend it somehow, right? You can't take that with you.
Yeah. Exactly.
So take that opportunity. If it's whatever, it's a 50,000 or 100,000 or whatever, but learn how to do it.
Mhm.
All right, you're gonna take that money, you're gonna put it on a down payment or whatever, or invest it wisely, and that's your ticket. That's your learning. That's your tuition.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah,
So-
100%. I agree. And those lessons are worth every dollar. It's
Yeah.
usually if you use them well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
If you don't learn anything from it, then obviously some people end up like that and they just give up. But
Yeah.
it's important to do what you did. So before we end things, is there any sort of service that you're offering or anything you want to share with people and how they can maybe contact you if you're interested in that?
Yeah. We actually just started 3 different types of pillars. So we're going to be starting a REIT.
Mhm.
We're going to start lending money out, and then there's also going to be affordable housing. So those 3 types of business strategies or pillars would, if people want to get involved, just email us at invest@cacoeli.com.
Cool.
And then actually my business partner Mark, he's going to head that up.
Mhm.
So it's INVEST and then at CACOELI.com. But that's something for people. The REIT is really for people that are not accredited investors. Okay, because people have asked, like, how do I invest and all that, and they don't meet that threshold.
Mhm.
Being an accredited, it's hard to be an accredited investor, and usually they're my age, right?
Mhm.
Like, I'm older, right? Like in your 40s and your 50s. That's my target accredited investors age bracket, age range, and a lot of people don't meet that. So that REIT really helps them out. They can get involved in investing. Then they can actually go through the affordable housing. We're going to be doing a couple of affordable housing that perhaps one in St. Catharines and one in one somewhere else. We haven't locked down that property yet, that land. So they can get involved in as an accredited investor. Return will be a little bit higher because it's affordable housing. The initiative for the government is to push for affordable housing because in Ontario there's not enough housing. And then lending. So we have people that just want a straight percentage, right? So they can lend money and then we can lend money out to them, and so on and so forth. So we have to eat that little spread. That's good in a way because we're going to have, even for us, I was looking at investing in with other investors as well because we always had some cash there, right? A couple $100,000. When you're in between deals, you sometimes hold cash, right? And then when you have the deal, you're deploying that money, right? So sometimes there's that sort of break and the money just sitting there. So what are we going to do with that? We're probably going to lend it out. So there's that 3 little tranches, or 3 little pillars of businesses that we can do.
Very cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Sounds like you're doing a lot of really good things. So
Yeah.
all the best in your new ventures. And I look forward to staying in touch and seeing you again soon.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thanks.
Thanks for listening to this episode. I hope you enjoyed the content. And as a valued listener, I'm giving away a sample letter of intent. This letter is used once your potential co-venturer expresses interest in working with you. It outlines the general structure of the deal and intentions of both parties. You could visit www.welloff.ca/letter to receive your free copy. www.welloff.ca/letter.